How a glitter-wrapped time bomb trips. I stopped eating. Food smelled disgusting. Homework became impossible. I felt my grades slipping out from under me. I had more friends than ever, and I couldn't bring myself to see any of them. Suicidal thoughts had come and gone since the night I first planned my death. I had been living on borrowed time. You don't just get better from suicide like an infection. Suicide goes into remission, like cancer. You can recover and regain your health, but you never know if the disease will return. Life becomes fragile, able to topple over the second your ailment transitions to the next stage. I stared at my computer screen with unfocused eyes, struggling in vain to put down the next word. I was on my bed, leaning against the chilled wall that guarded against the brisk winter air. The light of my laptop screen glared up at me, judging me for not working. I had been trying to write out a scene for my latest book, but was having a hard time of it. Writing had become impossible in the last few months, and my progress on this newest book had slowed to a crawl. I growled, running my hands through unshowered hair. It didn't matter how long I stared at my computer. I wouldn't write anything. This wasn't just writer's block. Something was manifestly wrong with my book, or me, or my writing process. I didn't know and was too overwhelmed to fix it. My ability to write is a great barometer for my general happiness. Or my happiness is a great barometer for my ability to write. I never have quite figured out the direction of that causality. Regardless, I was not happy. Emptiness consumed me. My position in the school was tenuous. I thought I would care a lot more than I did. Nothing mattered except for Easton, and he was inaccessible. I slammed my laptop screen down, body shaking. It was all too much. For weeks now, I had contemplated suicide. I was terrified of the thought of ending up in that way, alone, knowing I had given up, possibly in pain. I didn't want to do that, not exactly. But perhaps I could push myself closer. Work my way up to that final moment when I would finally gain the courage to extinguish my conscious thought, resigned to the fate of all people who have walked this earth. Death wasn't such an offensive concept when considered in that light. I set my laptop on the ground, my useless science fiction manuscript screaming up at me to keep working. Perhaps my family was correct about writing. It had only ever been a distraction from a fate that had been obvious since Dad left. I retrieved my car keys from my pockets, sitting on the edge of my bed. Attached to the keys were two items. One was a consecrated oil vial. The other was a small knife with a blade less than an inch long. I removed the oil vial and the blade, opening it and feeling the edge. I lifted my shirt, positioning the knife's blade just above my belt line. Perhaps I was losing something in doing this, but I didn't care. I hated everyone and everything, and didn't want to deal with it anymore. Suicide had always been my destination. I just lacked the means to do it. That fear of what it would feel like. That fear suddenly felt mitigable. I was ready to turn my thoughts into action. I dragged the knife blade across my skin. Nothing happened. I dragged the blade again. Still nothing. So I brought it to my thumb to discover a shockingly round surface. The blade was too dull to cut anything. It was old with a wood handle. Dad had given it to me. Memories of the blade washed over me. I'd carried it through my entire mission, attached to my belt loop. A member boy in my third mission area had asked me to give it to him. I planned to give him the knife before I transferred. The following week, I was called to leave my area earlier than expected and work as a secretary in the office. I never saw him again, or even got the chance to say goodbye. The next 6 months of my life were spent opening boxes with that same knife, which is how it got too dull to cut me. I positioned the tip perpendicular to my skin and pressed. It felt like a fine ballpoint pen, but it didn't cut. I repeatedly dragged the tip across my skin, increasing the pressure with each pass. I tossed the knife and oil vial aside, and opened every drawer in my room before tearing apart my closet. That dull turd was my only knife. My thoughts went to the kitchen knives in the top drawer with the silverware. It was a possibility, despite offering less control. I wasn't trying to kill myself, yet, but I could learn what taking steps to that end would feel like. I stepped out into the hall leading to the kitchen. Unfortunately, I was not alone in the apartment. "Hey, John," my roommate Wyatt said from the kitchen table. "Can we go to Walmart?" Across from him, Will looked at me with expectant, bespectacled eyes. I hesitated in the doorway, regretting for the 100th time being the only roommate with a car. "Sure." I pounded my curled toes on the carpeted ground. "Let's go." We drove to Walmart. Wyatt sat in the front beside me, and Will sat in the back. My roommates had noticed I was quieter than I used to be. I was spending more time with them to ground myself into a familiar relationship dynamic. But I couldn't engage with them. They probably assumed my depressed state originated from my breakup with Claire. 4 months had elapsed since our breakup, but allowing them to believe that was easier than the truth. Easton occupied a part of my consciousness now devoted to mourning his loss. As long as I don't contact him, I told myself. Everything will be fine. I cannot contact him. But I have to at least talk to him, smooth things over. No, don't open that door again. But no! I turned left into Walmart and parked. Will and Wyatt strolled through the aisles of Walmart, grabbing items off the shelves. I followed, taking nothing for myself. My cupboards were stocked with food. I just wasn't eating it. Eventually, they finished shopping. We walked to my car and I helped them put their bags in the trunk. On the drive home, the song Realize by Colby Calais came onto the radio. Easton and I had made out to the song on the radio in his car. Memories of our time together upended my mind. My knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. Every day was a struggle of will. How do you separate yourself from someone you love? It didn't seem possible. I was sick with loss. Sick from what I had done and how I had treated Easton. I was sick from his rejection of me. I tried to understand his actions from an outside perspective, but couldn't. Nothing about his actions made sense in my mind. I felt as though I was at the whims of his indifferent mercy. I still hoped he would come around. Colby Calais' words echoed my thoughts with an unfortunate level of fidelity. Somehow, hearing the words come from someone else exposed the idea's stupidity. How dumb can you get? I pounded on the steering wheel, earning a panicked look from Wyatt. "It doesn't work like that, Colby Calais," I shouted. "He won't just realize one day that he loves you. No one ever just realizes that they love you, you ignorant, whimsical girl." I turned the radio off, driving in silence. "You okay, John?" Wyatt said, looking at me with equal parts amusement and concern. I laughed it off. "I'm fine, sorry." We arrived back home, and I opened my laptop again to continue writing. Suddenly, the realization hit me. I knew why my book wasn't working. The main character was too emotionally stable. He was too damn perfect, the version of myself I wished I could be. I opened a new document to write a trial character sketch for my main character, this time giving him a more complicated backstory, filled with lost love and a failed suicide attempt. This was good. This felt right. The world was a bleak place. My writing should at least reflect the truth of that reality. That slight, unexpected forward momentum in writing put me back into my body. This was my purpose. Not this school, my degree, or even the cushy corporate job my family demanded I obtain. My purpose was writing, the one thing I was born to do. Just as in my teenage years, writing would keep me alive. It would give me the only real, tangible purpose to stay on this earth. I had written books before. I had done amazing things on the page. Sure, most people didn't understand, and some were openly contemptuous of that ambition. But fuck them.